Hello everyone, welcome, welcome. It is a dark and gloomy day here at the chateau, but we will press on because, if you've been following for any length of time, you know I've had a leak in my ceiling and roof, and so far, it's good. It's dry, it's warm and cozy. So I'm in a good mood, which I will promptly ruin in just a bit. But first, I just want to share some things that I've been reading. Not a lot. I've really actually been caught up in a lot of audio drama and radio programs and that sort of thing lately. So a lot of the time I would normally spend reading. Instead, I've been listening to, say, one thing is the Archie Andrews show. I mentioned that briefly, just discovering that it existed through one of the books I recently read, which was like a sort of a history of the Archie's comic, and I discovered there's a radio program for Archie Andrews in the 40s. I think it went from like, I don't want to say the date range, but it's like mid-40s to maybe the early 50s, but it's actually quite entertaining. Not all of them are winners, but the story is a lot less focused on the kids of Riverdale and more centered on Archie Andrews and his family, and then they add some weird quirks to it, so it's not quite the same as like if you've just been reading the Archie comics all of your life. Like Jughead apparently has a catchphrase of like, you know, calm down, Archie, calm down, or something like that.
Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie. Relax.
You know, it's still really fun. A nice slice of life of the time. Like, there's, being set in the 40s, there was one episode that was Nazi power comes to Riverdale, where the students of Riverdale are here on like a radio or television program that there's a Nazi prisoner who's loose and in that area, and so they take it upon themselves to like hunt down the Nazi in Riverdale, and they end up beating the crap out of someone who is not a Nazi, and it's just wild. It's not something I'd anticipate happening, but like it was like a current event of the time, so it's like, wow, how is Archie going to handle a Nazi? So, I mean, we've seen him like face off against the Punisher and Kiss and all sorts of other weird characters. But, you know, I never thought of Nazis in Riverdale. So that was interesting. Also, this is like reading in conjunction with listening to something, but I listened to all of the book and record of Star Trek, the Peter Pan Records book and record sets. And read their accompanying comics. These were fun. Mostly. They were mostly fun. Some were trash. But the voice acting, on the most part, was really good, actually. Like, you could tell who the characters were. They did tend to accentuate traits. So, like, whoever was playing Scotty was, like, really Scottish. And then McCoy was sounded like a Southern belle at some points.
Stardate 54-4.
Meow!
Bones, can't you keep that thing quiet?
Sorry, Jim. Doesn't like a cage.
Captain's log, Stardate 5440. We have been assigned to...
Meow!
Bones!
All right, Jim. I'll take it down to sick bay and house it with our experimental animals. Just remember, I was prepared to treat an ambassador, not to babysit an ill-tempered tabby.
I understand, Bones. We're all upset about it.
Yeoman, give me a hand with this, will you, please?
Yes, sir. I confess, Captain, that for a change, I find myself empathizing with Dr. McCoy. This is a considerable...
But it was still really fun. I found out most of these comics were, or the stories that the comics were based off of, were written by Alan Dean Foster, who, if you didn't know, did the sort of book adaptations of the Star Trek animated series. So there were actually in these stories, there were a few tie-ins to the animated series, and I thought that was really cool. Like this one cat lady who appears, and her adaptation in the comics did not reflect the same character that we saw, but like whoever was illustrating these and coloring them didn't really know Star Trek nearly as well as Alan Dean Foster, so you get some weird interpretations. Like that's where you got the blonde Uhura and the black Sulu. So there was some weirdness going on, but like most of the stories were really fun. There was one story that I thought was just terrible. I think it's called "The Man Who Tamed the Meteor," or something like that, and it was just awfully written. But a lot of these are actually really fun adventures. So if you can find them, and you can listen to all of these, both Star Trek and Archie, on the internet. It doesn't take much searching to find these old programs. But if you can find them, I'd check them out. A lot of them are really good, actually. So that's not reading. This was, though. I read Flashman on the March recently, over the past week, and it was kind of disappointing. I'm kind of a big fan of a new big fan of the Flashman series. I've almost read them all. I've read 11 out of the 12 books now. This one was kind of a dud, and I guess when it was released, it kind of got the reputation of being kind of a dud. This was the last one published, so it's not really a great send-off to the character Flashman. The problem with this book, I think, is like, Flashman goes and joins the British march into Abyssinia. One of the kings in that region had captured some British officers and held them hostage for years, I guess, all stemming from the fact that Queen Victoria didn't reply to one of his letters. He was a crazy, insane ruler who thought he was like a descendant of Solomon and some other various characters of the Bible. But, and I mean, I guess that's historically accurate. So, the British marched in and basically wiped them out, and then they got their people back, and it was like a great, unexpected victory for the British. So, Flashman takes part in this, as he does in all of the Flashman books, where, like, he doesn't seek out to join on any expedition, but, like, he had to escape off of a boat because he was rogering someone's daughter on his way back to his home in London, and, he went into hiding in this town, ran into someone he knew who needed a favor, so he's going to take money to help, fund this quest, and got pulled into the quest because he has a reputation of being a great daring hero. And, the fun of these books is that Flashman is the worst person. He's a cad, he is a scoundrel, and somehow he gets away with it, and looking amazing, pristine. His reputation is unmatched. And in this story, we get far less of the fun of him being just the worst person. I mean, occasionally there are glimpses where you realize, this is a bad guy, but like, it's usually done in a pretty exaggerated and funny manner. And in this one, he just kind of it sort of came across as just like a traditional action hero story. Action hero is the wrong word, but like an adventure story. It was less about like Flashman being a cad, getting himself into trouble for being a cad, and then somehow squirming out of it. He wasn't really in a whole lot of danger throughout most of the book, or if he was put into danger, it didn't last very long. Where we didn't get to see him sweat very much in this, like we have in almost every other Flashman story. So it just seemed kind of dull in comparison. The history is still good in this, and the characters are good. It's competently written, but it lacks a lot of the flavor of what makes Flashman great. So, slightly disappointing. Still a fine read. Hi. Brief interlude. This is Editor Dan, wearing a hat. I forgot to mention one of the things I was listening to recently is a recording by Walden Tapes Audio of Jerusalem's Lot, which is a short story found in the Night Shift anthology. One of Stephen King's best stories, I think. Very Lovecraftian. What I love about it, though, is this particular recording. Good luck finding it now. Apparently they go for money. I had gotten my copy from a library sale in, like, old cassette form, but as time went on, the cassettes started to deteriorate, so I digitized it real quick, and now I have my copy of this audio recording, which has its own little warbles and particular things that I think actually make the book sound even creepier. But regardless, this is a great rendition of this short story. It has nice music in there, some sound effects, but not too many. And it's something I just wanted to share. If you can find a copy of this audio recording, I would highly recommend it. Again, good luck. Apparently the entire Night Shift anthology done by Walden Books Audio is very pricey now, and you have to have a cassette player to enjoy them. But I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But I'll just play a little snippet of what I have, and like just it's awesome. So this is really whet my appetite, though, to read all of Night Shift once again, which, I mean, I should be reading other things right now, but I kind of want to, so I might. That's it. Thank you.
Stood frozen, and the alien presence filled me like an ancient vessel that had waited for years, for generations. Kayakin Father! I screamed. Servant of the Yog-Sothoth! Oh, the Nameless One! The worm from beyond space! Star Eater! Blinder of time! Verminis! Now comes the hour filling the time of rending. Verminis! Al-Ya! Al-Ya! Kayagan!
What I'm currently reading is, it's an audiobook. It is Holly by Stephen King. So far, so good. I really enjoy it thus far. Maybe a third of the way through. But Stephen King goes full Stephen King, so we get a lot of talk about Trump again. And this is like, I don't think he's done this in his other novels, but like this is like the COVID novel because it takes place during the COVID years. Holly Gibney was in several Stephen King books. She's a good character. I like her. But like this is all like COVID, and I'm sick of hearing about it, to be honest. But you're gonna expect that in like in a story in this time period now. It's just, part of life. We're all sick of it in a way, but like the characters would react to it, so it makes sense, but it's just done in like a very ham-fisted way, I think, where it's like, these guys bad. We know they're bad because they don't believe in COVID and they support Trump. Like, okay, I get it. And I understand you have very strong opinions. I'm just sick of hearing it everywhere. So now it's creeping into fiction. I'm just going to have to learn to like deal with it. It's not the worst thing. I mean, we kind of expect this from Stephen King anyway. If it wasn't one administration, it was another that he's always harped on. And like he wrote a really, really good book about the JFK assassination, or a story that sort of went along with that. And I can't remember the dates, but I have it. That's the book I'm talking about. So, anyways, that's fine. Like, I'm still really enjoying it. It seems like almost a straightforward, just mystery, as opposed to like something with supernatural elements, though they could be there. I'm not super deep into this book yet, but so far I'm enjoying it, despite its weird picadillos. But yeah, that's it. That's all that I'm reading. I also want to announce that I'm going to be taking part in a reading project for 2024. You may have seen this on a few other channels, but on MJ's channel, Reading This Life, she talked about banned books and sort of wanted to create an event where we read and celebrate books that have been banned either by libraries, schools, or even countries, and just bring attention to them, because like the censorship has kind of gone out of control over the years, and her video is really powerful. I would suggest checking it out. I'll link it down there. But I've sort of had a mixed reaction to banned books over the years, and I think that my thoughts have evolved over time, and mainly the reason it didn't bother me quite so much is because I am an adult American who has adult American resources, that big city money, and the dastardly know-how to acquire pretty much whatever I want to read. And it sometimes takes a moment to realize that there's a lot of people who are not in that position where they can't just find whatever they want to find when they need it. Especially when I was younger, I didn't have the resources I do now, and like some things were just beyond my reach. And also, like, I do have a lot of computer know-how, and a lot of people don't. So if you want to get a hold of something, sometimes your only option in some circumstances is your school library or your public library. And if you're in other countries, I mean, who knows? It just depends on the country. But so I used to not think much about banned books. I'm like, well, it's not really banned by the government, so is it really a banned book? Like, yeah, it is. I'm still struggling with myself on that, because my knee-jerk reaction is to just be like, well, who cares? I can get it some other way. And most kids can nowadays, but maybe the ones who need it can't. I'm sorry, I'm just repositioning myself. Yeah. So anyways, MJ wanted to put together a reading event throughout the course of 2024, and that is 24 in 24, where we try to read 24 banned books and, just talk about them, spread the word, get them in the public eye a little bit more. And I want to also throw my hat in and participate. So I have a stack of 24 books, well, almost. Caveat, I thought this would be a lot harder. I didn't realize how many books have been banned. Like, I'm doing the Read What You Own challenge, where I'm trying to read 100 books that I own before I buy anything else. And I'm like, well, this might be very difficult to, like, pull 24 books that have been banned. It was not hard at all. Everything's been banned at some point or another. So I'm going to show you what I plan on reading for 24 and 24. And I encourage you to, if you have a channel or if you just want to do it and have some other outlet of talking about these books, feel free to join in, and also just, give MJ's video a watch. But here are the books that I plan on reading. Two of them I will not do physical because I don't have a physical copy. But the first one I want to read is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by someone, I don't remember the name. 1 second. Stephen Chbosky, or I butchered that. But I've never read it, but this was the book that really meant a lot to MJ, and based on the synopsis, I think it might resonate with me as well. But this is like one of the most contentious books that have been like banned from various places. I think it's like the 5th in the United States. So it's a good place to start. The other one that I have digitally that I will read in that format is Mouse by Art Spiegelman. This one has made a huge splash when it got banned a while back in the United States and some libraries again. So, or maybe school libraries, for really stupid reasons. So we'll talk about that later. But those are the first two books. I also have this one. I'm going to lump into one category because, I mean, it's practically nothing. That is the category of children's books, and by children's books I mean like the picture books. So I have Skippyjon Jones here, which was a favorite series of ours with my son when he was younger. And apparently these got banned, and I'm guessing I know why, but I'll do more research into that when we get to it. And the other, more obvious one is to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, and I just happened to have a copy. And this has like one particular section that is probably the basis of all of its problems. But we can talk about like children's books and censoring for children along with that, because that might be a very interesting topic. Here's something a little more obvious, but it's actually only banned in one country. That is the Anarchist Cookbook. This is filled with garbage. I can't show that because someone in Australia might see it. But this is just a book that has an infamous reputation, but most of the implementation is utter garbage. It's a book about, drugs, building bombs, and whatnot, and a lot of it is just hokum. But some can be dangerous, or it's dangerous enough where you just don't want to do what's in here. But I haven't read it all the way through. I just recently, in my first haul on this channel, got this book from someone's basically entire library being donated to me. So I will check it out and report back. Hi, kitty. I don't know if you can hear that, but my cat is asking me questions and I don't have an answer. Alright, the next book I have is Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. I think a lot of D.H. Lawrence has been banned over the past, since its inception. But the only book I've read of D.H. Lawrence's so far is Lady Chatterley's Lover, and I really liked it, so I'm going to check this one out as well. Here's my old friend Kurt Vonnegut. I haven't read this since like 2004, I think. So this is Slaughterhouse-Five. I used to like Vonnegut a lot more than I do now, but I don't know if that's just a me thing, if I got fatigued with him, but I'll give this a reread and see how I feel about him later. This one I was actually surprised about, but the Decameron by Boccaccio. This was a banned book, and I have this Laurel edition paperback with its like colored edges and stuff. Seems a lot smaller than my textbook, but it's unabridged and unexpurgated, so I'll read it in this format. The text is super tiny, so I might have to get my microscope out. That might be why it's such a small paperback, but it feels really good in my hands. And I liked this in college, so I'll give it a go again. Here's one that was banned, I think, in prison, and that is Evelyn Waugh's A Brideshead Revisited. Not read this yet, but it has a reputation of being really good here on BookTube, so I will give it a try. Here's one we know why it's banned. That's Lolita by Nabokov, Vladimir Nabokov. And this is one I've been meaning to read for a long time, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So great for my 100-book challenge, and great for banned books, 24 and 24. Here's something I didn't realize was banned ever, but turns out it was. And that, I guess that describes most of these books here, but who knew? And that is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. I've never read this, actually. I know what it's about, and I know more about it than I should for not having read it, but I haven't read it yet, so I can't report on it yet. Here's another one I've heard about for a long time, but only recently acquired a copy. Excuse me. And that is The World According to Garp by John Irving. A lot of people love this book. We'll see. This one counts as 3, but this is my second copy. This is my second time getting a copy of this trilogy volume, and that is Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials. Probably banned because, the Catholic Church is the bad guys, and I think they go off to kill God. Don't know much about it. I've seen The Golden Compass when it was in theaters, and I never really watched the show that was based off of it. So I'm going in mostly blind to this, other than knowing a little bit about The Golden Compass. So yeah. His Dark Materials. My first copy got eaten by a chinchilla. Here's something I didn't know was banned either, but that is The Wizard of Oz. And I have no history with The Wizard of Oz as a movie, which was surprising, but I've never even seen it until I went to college. I guess my mom saw it when she was a child and it scared her, so she didn't want to scare us or something. But this is a lovely edition that has a lot of illustrations in it. but has the complete text as well. So that's cool. So this will be an enjoyable experience of reading The Wizard of Oz. Here's one I have in a few different editions, but this was the easiest to pull on camera. That is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And I haven't read this in ages, but I think I also know why this one was banned too. But that's a... Come on, guys. It's literature. Alright, here's a classic about banned books that in and of itself was banned. I'm losing my ability to speak, so I better make this quick. That is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury, amazing author. Read more of him. Don't burn his books. Next is something I haven't read since high school. That is Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. And the only thing I really remember about this from high school is that one of the characters threw a pig's pizzle at someone and hit him in the face. So, surprisingly banned. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. I've only ever read East of Eden, so I need to give this one a go. Here's something I wanted to read anyway recently, and it turns out it was banned, and that is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Sorry. Whatever your name is, this is a popular book, and surprisingly banned in some places. Here is the better version of 1984, and that is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I really, really like this much more than 1984. Maybe that's contentious, I don't know. I enjoyed this much more, and I feel like at the time I read this, I felt like this was a little more on point than its close compatriot. Finally, I just want to reread this, but it turns out it was banned somewhere, and we probably know why if you've read Stephen King's It. There's one scene that just kind of brings this book down. I recently saw a hardcover of this, and I so desperately wanted it, but I'm holding firm to my 100 book challenge, so I'll have to read it in my old paperback instead. Alright, these last two books, here, let me put these down. These last two books kind of feel like cheating, because I don't think we think of them when we think of banned books, but they totally were in a few different places, depending on which book. The first is the Quran. This is the only version I have, which is like an English translation side by side with the Arabic, and it's in like a bunch of cool pamphlets instead of being in one codex. So I thought that would be a little more digestible for me. I've never read the Quran before, so this was given to me by a friend, as long as I took good care of it. And so this is something I mean to read. I believe that was banned in Russia at some point. And finally, this is the King James Bible. It's been banned a lot of places. And people have died for these books. And like, they're so simple now, like you just pull it up on your phone, but you don't really think, like, you know, some people really struggle to get these books of their faith, and they would give everything for them. So it kind of behooves us to read them, at least I feel that call. I mean, these were like some of the most influential books in the world. We should probably read them anyway for that reason alone. But the fact that, like, the struggle was real to get a hold of these things, and their influence is so vast that it just feels like, yeah, I need to read or reread these multiple times, and pull what I can out of them. But that is it. Sorry if that got a little heavy. I am not known for solemnity on this channel.
Hello. Could you use a hug?
Anyway, I hope you're doing well. If you're in the United States, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. If you're elsewhere, I wish you a happy week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.